Crash on the beat.
Paper chaser.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Shout out to everybody that's been tuning into the podcast. Welcome to Wait Till I Get My Money Right, Part 3. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Thank you so much for everybody that's been supporting the show and just been listening in. It's really awesome that y'all are enjoying my content. And here goes Part 3 of this series that I've been doing for the past couple weeks. So make sure, if you're listening on YouTube, you just like and comment and subscribe and share this on your respective outlets that you're able to share it. If you're on Spotify or Apple Music and you're listening to this, go on ahead and just give me a creative review. Really tell me what you like about the show. And if you'd like to engage with me, don't hesitate to let me know. Appreciate y'all tuning in. All right. So this episode is just going to be about managing your finances. It's in the commonality of what we've been talking about these past couple of weeks. It's one thing to, as a community, get into talking about money and y'all, real quick, I'm so sorry. It's early in the morning. I'm recording this right now, and I know my voice be sounding all deep and everything, but yeah, it's one thing to talk about money within each respective community and all that, but when it all comes down to it, if you can't manage your own finances, then what are you even really doing? How is it that you're going to talk about somebody else's money when you can't even manage your own? So we're just going to break down a couple things. One, we're going to get into how to take care of your money. Like I said, I'm no financial guru or expert. I'm not going to lead you to, the never ending land of milk and honey that flows from all riches. But I will just be passing on a couple tips and just doing a couple things that we can, discussing a couple things that we can really benefit from, including like investments. And number 3, we're going to be talking about financial independence and, the different added pressures and stigma that it really comes to, just spending money as a young person, young being anybody under the 40. So let's get to it. So I've been reading and doing a lot of research into personal finance, and I was looking into why people, especially young people, are so poor at managing their finances, especially in communities of color. Growing up, we're always taught to save money, but we don't really know why, right? Like nobody ever sat down and explained to us how money works. All those previous 2 episodes that you listened to, I'm pretty sure none of your parents sat you down, as a young person growing up and taught you any of that, However, it's important to know about these things, and the younger that you know this and you can grasp the concept of money and how money works and how the flow of cash works in general, the better off you'll become. Because if I knew what I knew now when I was in high school, I guarantee you I'd be making a lot more money right now. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to, disrespect anybody's hustle, anybody's grind, but respectively, when you come up on a certain amount of knowledge comes with experience. You know what I'm saying? So naturally, there's just some things that you're not going to be exposed to. You know what I'm saying? There's a certain amount of time that you got to wait to elapse before you come up on knowledge. It's the whole process of discovery, right? You don't know everything, but that's why you search to know more, right? It's all about what you can find out and how you can use it to your advantage. That's how, the age of information works, and how it can benefit you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, quick tangent, just a quick tangent. One thing about information is that, especially in today's world, it's so hard to come up on a certain amount of, whether that's knowledge or wealth or information or discovery or anything like that. It's almost like solving a Rubik's Cube to find out how you can use that to your advantage. Ultimately, in the kind of society that we're living in and we're moving towards, it's going to be what we got to do. Now, on the other side of that token, I think it's our job to share knowledge. You know what I mean? And I learned that lesson when I was a kid. I've never been somebody who's been trying to like keep information away from people or anything like that. And that all started when I was being raised. I remember as a kid, my father told me this story that I'll never forget. And it always reminds me to keep an open mind. I'm going to get into the story. So this story takes place in a forest setting, right? Or a jungle setting. And there are three characters, Mwalimu, Nanaba, and Kakraba, right? And Mwalimu is this man who has amassed all the greatest knowledge in the world. And he amassed all the knowledge of all the world and put it into a bottle. And after he put all the knowledge into this bottle, he said, you know what? I need to take this knowledge and keep it to myself because I'm the one who went out and found all the knowledge. So I'm going to keep it on my own. And for Nanaba and Kakraba, they were, watching after him and, just walking and trying to learn as much as they could. And finally, they got to this big tree that had a lot of branches that you can climb up. And Mwalimu, being as selfish as he is, was trying to figure out how to climb the tree and take the bottle up with him. And Nanaba and Kakraba were trying to help him climb up the tree and take the bottle with him at the same time. But he just wouldn't listen. So, Mwalimu kept on trying multiple times and he just couldn't do it. So then Nanaba said, okay, teacher, why don't you put the bottle in your back, like behind you, and fasten it so that you can climb up the tree? And after he climbed up the tree and he did exactly what Nanaba recommended, he realized that he didn't have all the knowledge in the world. You see that? So that always reminds me to just stay humble and to always share knowledge when I can. Any opportunity that is presented to me, I will. It's never okay to be stingy about these type of things. But I hope, y'all can take heed from a little African proverb real quick before we get into the content. Now, there's this book that I've been reading by a man called LaFoy Orlando Thomas III, who's actually an attorney. And he wrote this book called Generational Wealth, Business and Investing Guide to Building an Empire. And when I saw this book, I think I must have bought it like 5 minutes after I saw the title, right? Because these are the type of things that we got to start reading, like it's all about building generational wealth, especially for impoverished communities. You know what I mean? So in this book, he goes through several different chapters relating to economics and investing and real estate and stocks and bonds or whatever. And, just to name a few, he has like the importance of economics, real estate investing, accounting for investors, investing in bonds, mergers and acquisitions, economic outlook. You know what I mean? Like he really breaks down a lot of what we need really to know if we want to start building generational wealth and he sandwiched it all into about 170 pages, right? So it's a great read. I highly recommend it. It's not too expensive. I think it was like $10 when I got it or something like that, but really great book. So I really recommend that you guys take a look at it. But we know we're going to be taking some information from there, and also based on the research that I've done as the subject matter pertains to the show. So we're just going to get into it, right? And so our first topic that we're going to get into is personal finance, right? Spending habits. Now, believe it or not, everything that you see around you is literally meant to market to you in some way. You turn on the TV, you open up your phone, even if you're going to watch YouTube on your laptop, if you go out and drive on the highway and you look at the billboard, you go down the street, you see signs, you go to any mall or grocery outlet, you'll see, the marquees out, all solely for the purpose of marketing and for advertising. Marketing and advertising is such an invasive and profitable business, so much to the point that companies are willing to put top dollar to ensure the very best kind of advertising for their business. You understand what I mean? Think of it this way, right? See, the secret of marketing and advertising is that the objective of marketing and advertising is never to dictate how you will save your money. No way. It's always to dictate how you will spend your money. And how you will spend your money is ultimately up to the company, not you. Simple case in point, right? McDonald's. They have that tagline that McDonald's keeps on or has been saying for however many years now. And they have their trademark golden arches. $1 billion company globally recognized as McDonald's, right? There's no way that you're not going to see it. So late night, when you're working a hard shift or anything like that, or if you got kids especially, most likely you would have purchased McDonald's at some point in your life. Let's even look at something that you might consider essential, right? Mouthwash. I hope y'all consider it essential. Mouthwash. Listerine, right? If y'all haven't already, do me a favor and go watch a Listerine commercial and see how much effort they put into the graphics so that you can buy Listerine mouthwash at the end of the day. It'll blow your mind. You see some of the graphics and the animations that they have with Listerine, and you'll literally be like, dang, you know what I'm saying? Like, it'll make you want to buy it. And companies are really, really smart because they know, due to consumerism and capitalism and the way that we function as a society full of the need or the feeling to have to spend money, it's literally a competition now to spend. You know, they have figured out each demographic like to the T perfectly. And it's so funny how they've done it, right? I'm going to give you some examples about men and women and how companies effectively market towards each one, right? So let's look at how women's products are marketed, right? Let's look at underwear and lingerie from Victoria's Secret. Who do they always have? They always have the sexy model who's skinnier than most and always looks good with the underwear or lingerie on, right? Or maybe even like with the makeup that they have, always looks perfect. They got the graphics on key. Sometimes they got some background animations to make her clothes flow in a certain direction, you know, with the fan blowing on her and the hair going all over the place, right? And it looks enticing. You know what I mean? It looks enticing. Like as a woman, you'll want to go buy that Because why? Because you want to feel sexy. And Victoria's Secret, what they do better than most is portraying what you should think looks attractive. They now decide what you decide is beautiful. You get what I mean? Another way that companies market towards women is with cleaning supplies and laundry detergent. Run the tape back. Go ahead and look at a couple of commercials and you'll see it. With the exception of like Mr. Clean, even in then you'll see that there's a woman, at least one woman in the Mr. Clean commercial. Go ahead, check the tape out, right? You look at the cleaning supplies and, I'm talking about like soap or the Swiffer, the Swiffer Jet, Febreze and most other cleaning sprays. You'll see that they are clearly marketed towards women. Why? Because they're trying to market towards married women usually, or single mothers, or basically just assuming that the woman is in charge in whatever household is in charge of getting the cleaning done, right? Even for laundry, you'll see that most laundry commercials all geared towards women. Let that sink in. Let's look at for men, right? What kind of commercials are geared towards men? Deodorants. Oh my goodness. Do I even have to get started on deodorants, man? Look at Old Spice. Now, even for me, Old Spice, I'm not going to lie, one of my favorite, like, it's my mojo. I love Old Spice. But it is so geared towards men, it's not even funny. Right? Because once you put it on, what do? You feel masculine, you smell good, you feel good, right? Because companies are smart enough to figure out that women love smells. So in your mind, you'll piece together, okay, if I put this masculine deodorant on, I'll attract more women. And it never works like that. But I'm telling you, we fall for it 100% of the time. Another one is cars, man. I'm even going more specifically in cars. And I'm going to go with these companies. Just look at them. Dodge, Chevrolet, those car companies do an exceptional job at marketing towards men. They figure out that we are interested in how a truck or a car should look. And I'm telling you, like, you maybe in like a group of like 5, you'll probably have like one that's even owned one at some point or another, right? And we got to look at, I know I'm going off into advertising and marketing, but we have to look at marketing and advertising as the invisible guiding force that determines how we spend our money. I'm going to say it one more time. It's that invisible guiding force that determines how we spend our money, right? Look at all the commercials. You see nothing but food. You see clothes, video games, whatever that you can purchase, you name it, you've probably seen it on TV. And that can be dangerous, right? It can be dangerous to someone who doesn't know how to effectively spend their money and save their money. Let me see if you can relate to this, right? You're in high school. Either you got a job or your parents are now starting to give you allowance or you coming up on money somehow, right? What's the first thing you start buying? Food. Automatically. Food, video games, probably some clothes, all the stuff that you couldn't buy because your parents said no, right? That's what you start buying. You start buying all the stuff that you couldn't have or that you would not or were not able to get because of one thing or another, but most likely because you were denied that as a kid. Now, provided that you don't have to pay any bills or anything like that, you don't see a problem with spending your money that way. You don't see a problem with buying snacks or buying food, especially eating out. You don't see a problem with that because you don't have any immediate financial responsibilities that are going to greatly affect how you spend your money. You know what I mean? And it's a phase. Eventually you start to think, okay, you know what? I can't keep on spending my money like this. So what do you do after that? Buy useless stuff, right? It's all those small purchases that will accumulate. If you can't budget, you got no business touching it. Honestly, that's a rule that we should live by. If you can't budget, then don't touch it. Because that's the quickest way that you're going to be losing your money. Another way that we lose out on money so much when we're young is that we're trying to live beyond our means. We don't buy the most reasonable or the most financially sound ways of spending our money. We spend beyond our means. We think it's cool to have things, whether they're objects or whatever they are, to show off, essentially, right? We got the newest shoes, the newest, freshest clothes, the newest iPhone that just came out, the best kind of laptop, newest game, right? Newest makeup set. We got the newest, you name it. We live beyond our means. And that's why it's so hard for older people to understand, especially parents and bosses and managers and whatnot. It's so hard for them to understand young people is that we live in an age where we are like purposefully targeted to spend our money a certain way. And we don't have the proper education in our institutions to teach us how to avoid those. Now, there's a two-pronged approach to that. We don't have the proper and necessary education to equip ourselves to be financially sound and be financially responsible in schools, right? And then on the second hand, we're in institutions that are affiliated with companies. Either they're like you name it. You can ask your third or fourth friend who their parents work for, and you tell me whether you've put money towards that organization or not. You understand what I mean? The people that came before us will literally go and work out for these companies and work out for these businesses, and most likely don't even know fully how the business is run. They are just as much to blame as us young people in our spending habits. You know what I mean? And the reason why that's a problem is because then you're never going to learn how to be financially responsible. And whether, you're going to accept that or not, we're brought up in a society where you need to be a consumer in order to thrive or in order to get things done. And that's a problem, right? Well, is it? You tell me whether that's a problem or not. Advertising is such a big thing. It's a huge thing. You watching NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, more than likely, you're going to hear something that sounds like this. This sports broadcast is sponsored and brought to you by Gatorade or Nike or Subway, the official restaurant of that sport, or the official drink of the game. Replenish your electrolytes, all that. You know what I'm saying? You will constantly hear those type of things, even though they probably have nothing to do with the sport itself. But then you look at the players bench, or you look at the marquee, and you look at whatever going on around in the stadium, and what is it? Names of companies. Or you probably heard this. This sports broadcast is sponsored and brought to you by T-Mobile. T-Mobile is one of the largest companies that provides wireless voice and data communication all over the world, or all over the nation, or all over a certain region, right? Just think about that for a second. Or fill in the blank with Verizon, right? The nation's fastest 4G LTE. I'm pretty sure that was their MO. Like, that was their thing. Nation's largest, nation's fastest service. Like, that was just how they roll, right? And now they're the biggest telephone company in the world. You know what I mean? The most important thing about marketing and advertising and functioning in a consumer society is that you have to know what you're up against. The companies in this sort of society are your competition. And the sad part is you won't even realize you're losing until you ain't got no money. And once you realize that you ain't got no money, the only day that you're going to look forward to is payday. That's when you're going to realize that you're losing. If you're looking forward to payday, you're losing. even for me, sometimes I realize that, like, man, I'm losing, right? Because consumerism works in such a way that it's so unique and invasive, like I said before, and we don't know how to equip ourselves and give ourselves the necessary tools that we need to succeed and to save our money. Now, let's look into some of the ways that we could be spending our money, right? Now, in that book that I mentioned, Generational Wealth by LaFoy Orlando Thomas III, one of the key concepts that he breaks down about investing, period, is understanding the economy. And in the book, he explains that basically the health and the momentum of a particular investment is pretty much influenced by the state of the economy, right? Or how much that particular product that you've invested in or company that you've invested in is doing, how well they're making sales and raking in revenue. And whether that's stocks or bonds, or it's usually most likely stocks, the way that you read the overall health or the biggest health indicator of the economy is looking at something called GDP. And GDP stands for gross domestic products. And once you look at GDP and you look at that's literally the overall health of the economy. Then you look at the stock market and you determine the health of the stock market based on the markets. And you look at each market that you've invested in, and you look at the highs and lows within a certain amount of time. And then you look at percentage change and so on and so forth. And all of these things will add up to your adept knowledge of how an investment is doing. You know what I mean? Now, that's one way of investing, is investing in the stock market, right? And you can get into different kinds of stocks. You can look at income stocks. You can look at blue chip stocks, which is, getting into like the big companies like Walmart, American Express, Nike, all the big companies that you've heard of. Those are all called blue chip stocks. Then you can look at growth stocks. That's like companies that are trying to get to like a certain goal. They have a certain goal in mind and they're trying to maybe even go public. You know what I mean? Like those are growth stocks, right? And then we can look at bonds. We look at bonds, right? Bonds are such a, I don't know if you remember in the very first, part one of Wait Till I Get My Money Right, I mentioned that bonds are basically like loans, right? And it's a contract. You enter the contract based on the amount of bonds that you buy, and it's basically between whoever is issuing the bond and whoever is investing in the bond. And you're basically being loaned money, whether that's by the government or a company or a board of a company. And that's when you get into premiums and discounts. And, it can be very profitable. But again, if you don't break down what each of the opportunities of investments that you could get into, you're going to be afraid and it's going to seem like a foreign concept to you. You know what I mean? It's literally painted as super complex, which it is. It can be very, very hard to understand. But once you put the work in, you literally and familiarize yourself with the terms, it'll literally make sense. Just like you study chemistry or math or science or business or English, stocks, bonds, and anything that has to do with the financial world and how U.S. markets move and all that, they can be easily deduced and easily understood, provided that you put the time in to study it. Just like you studying for a math test. Same thing, same concept. But again, it's painted in such a way that you will literally start to be confused by some of the words like that people say. Like, okay, I don't know if you've ever spoken to a financial expert or an accountant or anybody who works in the corporate world, they use language that you purposefully cannot understand because that sector of business is so saturated and is so competitive that they literally speak to keep you out. Think of it that way. Their language is so much more advanced than ours. So when they speak to us, we feel intimidated and in turn not get into the industry. We just stay out and think like, yo, that's cool. And if you don't believe me, let's look at some movies, right? Because everybody loves movies. Wolf of Wall Street. I'm pretty sure if they didn't get Leonardo DiCaprio and Jonah Hill and Matthew McConaughey and Margot Robbie, if they didn't get all those people, or even John Bernthal, if they didn't get all of them to act in that movie, I don't even know who would have watched it, honestly. Because if they didn't get all of those actors and put a whole bunch of drugs and sex and wild, crazy stuff and all that into that movie, I don't know who would essentially want to watch that. Probably just people in the financial world, right? Even if you haven't seen that movie, more than likely you've met somebody that has and probably didn't understand a word of it. You know what I mean? And it's so interesting to me how people like to look at the spectacle of what it would be like to invest. That's so crazy and insane to me. People like the idea of investing but won't invest themselves. Like just think about that for a second. With the way that investing has literally changed and transformed and just change forms from the very beginning of investing in the US, with different apps that we have now, like Acorns, Robinhood, Stockpile, Mint, even. If I'm not mistaken, I think you can. Mint is basically like an app to help you track your spending and help you manage your finances. But with all those apps that have now been on the market and been literally there for us to consume, it's a hell of a lot of us that are not investing. And that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? Whether you want to invest with Fidelity or like, there are so many different avenues for us to explore to, get into the world of investing. We don't. And we're losing. You know why? Because we're giving the lion's share of what could be ours and just leaving it generation after generation to others. And just leaving it to sit on the floor. It's just wealth just sitting there, right? And we're just giving it away. Because why? Because we're in impoverished communities. We are in institutions that don't teach us about financial responsibility. We're in all of these economic deficits and stay in these ways and don't educate ourselves about money. And once we even think about putting our investment in anything else, what do? Panic. Now, I admit, when I started investing, it was tough. Of course, right? I didn't know exactly what I was getting into, but sometimes you got to jump into the deep end of the pool and learn how to swim and do as much research as you can to stay afloat. You know what I mean? That's how you invest. There may not be the definitive way of investing, but there's obviously safer ways that you can do it. Anyway, I digress. Back to different ways that we can spend our money better is by, number one, I'm pretty sure you've heard it from your parents, from people around you, from your influencers, is saving. Save your money. It is so hard to save money. Why? Because we have made consumerism a social thing. That's how we do it. Log on to Instagram or Twitter right now. What is everybody showing off? The food that they just got. It annoys me every time I see it. They'll put like a bag of Chick-fil-A or McDonald's or whatever, like whatever kind of restaurant food, burrito, you name it. They'll put it on social media. And what do you think? Damn, I want some. That's exactly what you think in your mind. Like, yo, that looks good. You look at your explore page on Instagram. I want to say, even if you're super, super conservative about looking at food on Instagram, I'm pretty sure every 15th post, whether it's a picture or a video, has food on it. Why? Because they've literally done such a good job at figuring out that food is a social thing. You go out to eat with who? Your family, whoever your relationship with, you know what I'm saying? They figure it out. If we can put the idea in their mind, we can then influence their cravings. Once we can influence their cravings, we can manipulate that and have them spend their money within our restaurant or establishment. Therefore, we dictate how much they're going to purchase our food products based on how much we put into advertising. Because if it's constantly in your face, you're going to inherently think, this sounds like I would like to indulge in it. That's just how it works. That's how our mind works. You know what I mean? We're easily drawn to things that are visible to us. It works 100% of the time. I'm telling y'all, whether it's real estate that you want to invest in, or stocks or bonds, whatever the case is, investing is really for our community. It really is. And it's for young people. And if we don't figure out how to get that done soon, it's going to be really bad for us. You know what I mean? Do y'all research? Start investing. All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all tuning in one more time. This marks the last episode of the Wait Till I Get My Money Right series. I really hope that you did learn something and that you were able to glean some knowledge from it. If you would like for us to revisit the topic of money or financial literacy or anything like that, please let me know. Don't hesitate to comment or to message me, and I'll be more than happy to break this down. I'm hoping that I'm going to get a couple of things lined up within the next month or so we can get some guests onto the show. But I really do appreciate y'all supporting, y'all helping me out and really watching and listening in and tuning into my podcast. So thank you so much. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on Spotify, Apple Music, go ahead and leave me a review. And if you have any questions or you have anything that you'd like to, message me or anything like that, go ahead and reach out. Don't be afraid. And thank you so much. Like I said, I'm so appreciative. I'm so grateful for y'all. Y'all take care. Y'all have a good one. And y'all be hearing from me soon. Stay up.